what actually is addiction? I feel like this is not something that we talk about a lot. We say, oh, it's an addiction, it's bad. And like, well, what does that actually mean to be addicted to something? Because like there's obvious things, right? Like drugs, I think. Drugs and alcohol are like the number one most obvious, but that's because they're like bad for your health, like, especially alcohol, right? Like it's like bad for your health. So if you're consuming that too much, it's just physically bad for you. So obviously that's not good, or like sugar and, eating really bad foods all the time, that's like an obvious kind of thing. But we don't really think about the fact that exercise, working out can be an addiction. Eating healthy can be an addiction. Making money can be an addiction. All these things that we look at as like positive things. And it's almost like promoted for you to like get addicted to these things. But what actually is addiction? What does it mean? What's the difference between an addiction and a healthy habit that you just enjoy doing and sort of rely on in your life? Well, addiction is the progressive narrowing of the things that you derive pleasure and enjoyment from. And so in turn, happiness can be defined as the progressive expansion of the things that you derive happiness from. So when you make a lot of money, right? Look at like rich, like celebrities, right? And you see them doing these like stupid ads, and it's like, why is this person who's a multimillionaire doing this stupid ad? You know what I mean? They've already got more than enough money to buy literally anything they could ever want, and more. But it's because they're addicted to the high of making money, that feeling of making money, and nothing else compares to that. So it's like the one thing that they can do to get pleasure and derive enjoyment from things. And that's where it becomes an addiction, is progressively, I think in general, highs are typically what does it. Because it's hard to compare to that, right? It's hard to compare to a high, and it just got the AC just turned on in this motherfucker. But so even if it is a positive thing, even if it is a good thing, right? Like working out makes you feel great, but if you're doing it every single day and not giving your body time to rest, if you're losing out on other aspects on your life, like you're not going out with people, you're not socializing, you're not doing other enjoyable things, then you're just narrowing the scope of things that can bring you happiness and bring you joy. Once you've done something enough, once you've made enough money, once you've gotten in shape, keep it in there, integrate it into your personality still. But don't continue to rely on that thing or think that that thing is going to bring you the same pleasure that it did at one point. Because that's kind of how drugs are, right? Like that's kind of how weed is. For me personally, I know that like the first time I got high was the best. It was the best experience ever. And basically every other time getting high is trying to recreate that. You're just chasing a ghost because it's never the same. It never hits the same. But you keep doing it as if it's going to, when you don't need that anymore. And that's not going to give you that effect anymore. You have to move on. And you can still do it every now and then, and but recognize that it's never going to be like that. And the same thing is true of like getting in shape. Once you're in shape, you're in shape. Like there's no more that can really be derived from that. You kind of have to learn how to just move on to the next thing that's more important. So I think in recognizing that, you can have a healthier approach to these positive things in your life, and you can actually continue to have them be positive things instead of traps and things that keep you needing to do something when you really don't need to be doing that thing anymore, and it's no longer bringing you the same pleasure and joy that it did at one point. And part of that's just like, it's easy to rely on those things sometimes, and it's good to keep them in your roster of things that you can do to be happy, but you'll never learn. It's almost like when you have a job, you've had a job for too long, and it gets really boring. It's like because you've learned everything you can learn from it. You've already derived everything you can positive from that thing. So now it's time to move on to the next thing, and that relates back to what I was saying, the progressive expansion of the things that bring you joy. That's what real happiness is, and that's what leads to abundance versus scarcity. And like the most extreme example, like driving home, is like, you know, like a heroin addict, right? Like there's the most narrow ability, like that's the most narrowing of something that brings you joy, because it brings you so much, it's such a high. Nothing else matters. Literally nothing else matters. It's what brings you joy in life has narrowed to one thing, only one thing. So I hope that you derived some kind of meaning from this video. If you did, smash that subscribe button, smash the like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.